Love that strong black and white feel. Then I said, let me just add some splashes of color like it's coming to life a little. So I just added a little bit of flesh and a little bit of, reds and blues. And it worked out really well. And I said, that's a great look. Growing up, I didn't know my father. I don't even know what he looks like. I never met the man before. I knew obviously he was African American. For the longest time I didn't know where I fit in. I didn't get anything from my father except for a little darker skin. I always think I see things from both sides because I grew up with a white mother. Even at a young age I always knew we looked different even though she was my mother. She tried to shelter and shield me from any kind of prejudice and any kind of racism. I remember vividly her always trying to really shield that from me, even though it was a reality. And then you would get kids, black kids that I would want to hang out with because I felt the connection, but then I'd be shunned from them and be made fun of. So then I felt like a sense of being pushed out of the nest, even by my own people. I didn't know where I fit in because I wasn't black enough to be the black kids because I wasn't dark enough and I had the white mother. But then around the white kids I wasn't white. I looked different. I was darker. Well, things that for my subject matter, I love anything with the human spirit overcoming because I always feel like I'm an overcomer. So I think I always try to I do try to ensure to try to see within any kind of thing that I do. Just kind of internalize it to myself. Like doing these pictures about boys having a conflict, it makes me think of, as a childhood, the kind of conflict that I dealt with when I had to kind of walk away from situations where people were trying to pick fights with you, and you just got to kind of, step away from the situation. Yeah. I've seen that face as a child about, especially you just kind of doing your own thing and then people just antagonizing you. And I've seen this look before. I've had this feeling. I've had that feeling. Each one of these characters I can understand and relate to, but I know that face. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. Doing March On was so important because I know for me, to do something about somebody I admire was so awesome. It was a blessing. We must forever conduct our struggle on a high plane of dignity and discipline. That's a great quote because you do have to, it's easy to be violent and ugly and chaotic, but you got to do everything even in life in a dignified, disciplined way because you cannot ascend to a higher place without having a sense of dignity, and excellence. I call myself a multiracial person. I don't consider myself black. I don't consider myself white. I don't consider myself, mulatto or biracial, because I got so much in me as a person. I got French, Irish, a little bit of Italian, a little bit of Native American. I get just a little bit of everything. So I think that's the American dynamic. My wife wants to have a farm. At first I laughed at her about her farm, but I kind of understand it now. For my daughter, I just want her to be happy. I want her to be successful. I want her to have a career, not a job. I want her to know that she's loved. There's nothing like that fatherhood love, at least for me, because I never had it. And I never understood it until I became a father.